In the early 2000s, macOS had a theme attached to it which was very unique. This theme, which I'm very nostalgic for, was called Aqua. In today's video, we will be covering what macOS was like before Aqua, the introduction of Aqua, and how it eventually faded out from modern macOS. Before we get started, I'm going to ask you all to like the video and subscribe to the channel, since it helps out a lot. Before Aqua, Apple's main design was called Platinum. Platinum, by today's standards, is a very bland feeling UI. Everything was very uniform and felt very similar. There wasn't much color either. This was sort of a very, in my opinion, dated feel. Even in 1998, this was a very dated look. Windows 98 was colorful and just very interesting looking. Windows 98 felt very warm and welcoming. It felt like a very good user experience. Just looking at the competition, it was clear that macOS needed some sort of redesign, or at the very least the addition of some color. macOS 8 and 9 did add a lot of color, but it still looked very bland. Too many right angles, this was just a very strange look. The same design style had been around since 1983 with the Lisa OS. Besides looking bland, this still gave Apple computers a very unique feel in the market. Looking at it, I think the lack of color and the attention to small details gave Apple a more professional feeling. This, along with the prices of the machines in the 1980s and 1990s, made older Apple computers feel like professional machines and not personal computers. As for Platinum, there isn't much to say, but what we are going to say will be from macOS 9, as this was the final version of Platinum. As you can see, it's a blue but vintage feeling experience. At the bottom of the screen, you may assume that you're looking at the dock, but this is not the case, buddy. This is called the control strip, and it would let you control parts of the computer, like the volume or the battery if you were on a laptop. Looks like most of your applications were selected via the menu bar. Using OS 9 isn't too different than OS 10, and if you had to use it, I'd bet you'd get the hang of it pretty quickly. It may take some adjusting, but it won't be like from Windows to Mac OS levels of adjusting. Now, keep soaking in the looks of Mac OS 9. It's pretty solid, feels really retro, pixelated graphics, very digital. This looks digital, that's probably the best way you can describe this. This is a digital operating system. Now Aqua is the anti-Platinum. If Platinum was bland, then Aqua was colorful and exciting. If Platinum was rigid and solid, then Aqua was round and flexible. Aqua was able to keep the good aspects of Platinum while also giving it a solid and beautiful appearance. At the Macworld San Francisco conference in 2000, Steve Jobs started off by showing off little simple things in the OS, like buttons, check marks, and pop-up lists. These are the very simple aspects that would be inside the applications.
So I'd like to just start off, when you design a new user interface, you have to start off humbly. You have to start off saying, what are the simplest elements in it? What does a button look like? And you spend months working on a button. That's a button in Aqua. This is what radio buttons look like. Simple things. This is what checkboxes look like. This is what pop-up lists look like. Again, you're starting to get the feel of this, a little different. This is what sliders can look like, right?
He then turned to talking about Windows. He shows the red, yellow, and green buttons, which all perform actions similar to the American traffic light system.
This is what the top of Windows look like. These three buttons look like a traffic signal, don't they? Red means close the window, yellow means minimize the window, and green means maximize the window. Pretty simple. And tremendous fit and finish in this operating system. When you roll over these things, you get those. You see them? And when you are no longer the key window, they go transparent. Right? So a lot of fit and finish in this. In addition,
The small touch of the colors, I think, helped a lot of people when first using an Apple computer. The user is already subconsciously aware of what these colors typically mean in their day-to-day life. Even preschoolers in the United States are told about red lights and green lights. The small use of color here is extremely effective in making this operating system feel like a natural extension of the real world. He finally switches over to showing off the dock.
And we have come up with something really great for Mac OS X, and it's called the dock. And I'd like to show it to you now. This is the dock. It's at the bottom of the screen. It always stays centered, and it allows me to put things into it. I can put all sorts of different things into it. How do I put things into it? Well, I can drag things into it, but let me show you a much cooler way to get things into it. I've got these three buttons up here. One closes the window, the other maximizes it, the third minimizes it, the middle one. Where does it go when a window minimizes? Well, it goes here. And you notice my dock just grows, right? Let me open another one. Minimize it. And of course, I can move these things around in the dock anywhere I want to, right? Whoops, I didn't want to do that, sorry. And I can just hit them, miniaturize them, boom, boom. Pretty cool, huh? Let me even show, I can slow this down. We built in a special slow-mo mode for the demo here today. Look at this. Isn't that cool? It's just magical. And it shows you exactly where they go. Again, it's that same. So, pretty cool. Now, let me go ahead and show you, though, what happens, let's say, with the dock. Let's open a few more of these things. And let's say I go ahead and, miniaturize these things. And I'll go ahead and turn the speed back up here. I miniaturize more things. And then I can also drag things into the dock. But what happens now the dock is full? What do I do? Well, it just shrinks a little bit. Right? And I can put anything in here I want. I can put websites. I can put documents. I can put anything. Applications, anything that I use, and I can rearrange them at will.
Now, the dock, which I didn't really realize this until making this video, was a revolutionary concept within computing. The dock was able to combine many different features into one simple place. With the dock, you were able to drop files into it, launch applications from it, and minimize other application windows into this area. This was sort of like a quick bar or a hot bar for your most used applications. The dock is something that I always forget about when using a computer. This works so well that I forget it's even here. The dock feels so normal in everyday use that it's weird to imagine a computer without the dock in 2025. Every major OS has some sort of dock today. I think the fact that it works so well that we forget that it's there is a testament to how well it works as a feature. It's not in the way, and it doesn't take away from the experience at all. The dock only adds to the experience and makes the experience much better as a whole. Even Windows 11 has its own form of the centered dock now. That's it for the key features that make it stand out, but the visual design is simply beautiful. Steve Jobs said that it was designed with the intention of wanting to lick it, which it does very well. A lot of the Aqua theme feels like water on the screen, almost like popping small bubbles to get to places. It's hard to explain, but at the same time, pressing these bubbles feels very natural. Applications in Windows also felt very natural. Transparency effects were used very well. Shadows were also used very effectively to make it feel like you're looking into an alternate reality. QuickTime, for example, uses a brushed metal texture with the Apple logo stamped in the bottom left corner of the window. The sliders and buttons still use the Aqua theme, and it's a very interesting mix of industrial and the natural flow of Aqua. Most of the icons in the dock also show some form of function. Besides Internet Explorer and Finder, while Finder is a piece of Bauhaus-inspired art and Internet Explorer is an E, Mail is a postage stamp, QuickTime is a TV, Sherlock 2 is kind of hinting that it can search for things, and the System Preferences shows a light switch as well as the Apple logo. All of these icons, except for Internet Explorer and Finder, show some sort of function, and it conveys these ideas very well to the user. Our favorite app, Stickies, is also here, and it actually does feel different compared to what we have today in macOS 15. This version of Stickies feels like there's some sort of printing ink bleed on the corners, making these stickies feel somewhat real. This can just be the image I'm referencing, but if it's intentional, it really does add to the experience. Even the default wallpapers within this new theme of the OS felt very liquid. Take a look at the first default wallpaper. This is a very simple and flowing image. macOS kept this design until around 2009, when a lot of the UI stayed the same, but it started to favor a brushed metal look, and the wallpapers started to become more space-themed. The character of macOS still had not changed at this point either, but it started to evolve. Aqua went on to influence Windows for the years to come, as well as playing a key part in the Frutiger Aero design style prevalent in the early 2000s. As Apple introduced more products like the iPhone, they also kept the Aqua appearance. Apple's design in Aqua had a cascading effect on the whole industry and made this era of computing very unique. Then iOS 7 was released. iOS 7 had an immense effect on the rest of the software industry. Soon, almost every single mobile developer had to update their app in order to not look completely outdated. Instantly, Apple went from beautiful, realistic, flowing, and skeuomorphic designs to flat and bland designs. The man to blame, or praise if you like it, was Johnny Ive. Ive had been a hardware designer at Apple for a pretty long time at that point. He was mainly a hardware designer, but after Apple had to fire Scott Forstall in 2012 over the complete and utter disaster that was Apple Maps, he then also oversaw software. Johnny Ive is really big into functional design, nothing too extra. This pretty much means he designed the products following what they were meant to do. This meant that the apps became much more streamlined and simple. Gone are the days of flashy and realistic icons. The computer is now back to being a portal into a new digital age, much like how it was in the 1990s with the platinum design style. We have come full circle. Johnny Ive has brought us back full circle. The new flat design was like a rollback of the Aqua design. Instead of expanding things, it shrank some stuff. I think the change that shows this analogy the best would be the checkmark boxes, going from where the check would leave the box. Now the check mark is just contained within the box. And this is even more apparent nowadays since Apple has transitioned to the on-off switch as seen on the mobile devices. Whilst the key features of Aqua are still here, the fade away of how it used to be is just very apparent today. Many of the buttons and toggles Steve Jobs talked about in 2000 are no longer here, besides the very key essentials. It's unfortunate to see Aqua being phased out, but I am excited to see what the big new thing is in a few weeks. There have been a lot of rumors surrounding macOS 16. I've heard stuff about a glass design to more transparency windows. Whatever it will be, I do not doubt that it will be a failure. When Apple typically makes these big design changes, the rest of the industry starts to follow, just like with Aqua, and then with the flat designs of iOS 7, and whatever the hell they're going to be doing now. We'll see what happens. I think whatever direction macOS goes in the future, I think we should take a moment to look back at the UI that started it all, being Aqua. If you guys enjoyed the video, consider joining the channel for exclusive perks. You get to use custom emojis in chat and get to see the videos early. I'd like to thank you all for watching this video. If you liked it, then subscribe and like the video since it helps out the channel a ton. Thank you, and I'll see you all next week.